Press the bell icon on YouTube and don't miss another update.
So the American president's election is in its final stretch. How many days to go? Just 6 days to go. And here we are. Namaste, everyone. Welcome to this episode of the 10 p.m. show of Jaipur Dialogues. And once again, we have our resident expert, Shri Vibhuti Jha.
Namaste. Thank you for having me again.
How are you, Vibhuti Ji? Any
we are,
changes from last time?
Abhi ki tarikh mein, if you look at it seriously, it is like if you check your blood pressure every 1 hour, it will show different numbers, right?
Okay.
Or your blood sugar indices, if you check, it will change every hour. So let's take it very seriously, because 2 years of battle royal has now come down to nichod pe aa gaya hai. So it is like, it's a very interesting scenario. Sometimes you are at a loss of words, and sometimes you are speechless, and sometimes you want to talk a lot. And my situation is all three. So
what we do is let's discuss some of the major events that these people have done over the last 6-7 days that we last met.
Right.
And anything that you think has made any difference, or is it the same after the debate? Because the debate happened some time back now. I think we are meeting after the debate, so we know also whether the debate has made any difference. Whatever I'm looking at, if I'm looking at the regular media, the mainstream media of the United States, they seem to be unanimous that Biden again won the debate, though of course I was watching the debate live. And I thought he came out second best. So, what is your opinion on all this?
This is very, very nice, because last conversation I had mentioned that numbers don't lie, but the assumptions behind those numbers make the numbers. And I'm glad you have alluded to that fact. And if you were to look at it this way, you and I, we both felt that, I also felt the same way, that Trump scored the winner in this last debate that happened. So if you and I are the samples, we are 100% Trump won, right? But that's the interesting part, which is not getting reflected in the mainstream media part of it. So that's very, very interesting. But in all seriousness, pollsters in America are believing to be worried. They say that if Trump wins, we are out of business. This polling business will stop forever. And my mind began to race along the fact that how many things Trump has put out of place, in his operations. He fixed NATO, who were not giving money to their own security budget, right?
Right.
He put out China. He has regulated the drug prices. He gave money to black colleges. That was rather interesting, because we never get to know these things, because mainstream media doesn't talk about it. And Trump talks about it very graphically, that when these black students came to me and the colleges came to me for funding, I said, why do you come every year? They say, because that's the way it has been happening. And he changed it. He made it 10 years, one shot. Now, do you think those people are obliged? So there was a Rasmussen poll, which happened last week, which they took increase in black voters approving Trump performance. For 19th October, it was 26%. On 23rd October, it was 49%. Think about it. In those 6 days, 4 days, the black people began to feel that, yes, he had done more. The crime bill, things like that have shifted. And I was told in an informal chat, I was told by some Vietnamese groups, and a very important pointer. Vietnamese groups, they have very deep relationship with America, because America fought in Vietnam War, which they lost. And America brought a lot of Vietnamese who were pro-America to America. So they remain pro-America even today. Those people were telling me that 90% of the Vietnamese are going to vote for Trump because who wants a socialist run here? Haven't we suffered enough with the socialist and the Chinese regime and their policies? Why should we vote for a party that is so close and so much in cahoot with China on the Biden part they are talking about? And likewise, I'm happy to share with you one more thing, that we have formed Indians from 21 states in America, and we are going to go more, with 16 roots in 16 different states in India. We are all united. We have formed a group called Indo-Republican Forum, where
Okay.
we are going to play, yes, and we are going to have a Zoom meet tomorrow, and we are going to pass certain resolutions as our expectations from both the parties. So there is a significant move happening which is polls don't reflect. Now, you and I both know that the mainstream media has been pro-liberal, pro-democrat. They want to bring about a socialist agenda. They are unhappy with Trump behavior. But like many people have said, we are not electing a pope to run the government. We want somebody who means business. And I said to you in the last program that the black lady who is a contestant from Pennsylvania, what she said that he is the one. Once I got educated, I learned how Democrats were taking advantage of us. So there is a significant shift, and I continue to believe that there will be a definite chipping away of the votes. Now, post second debate, there are certain very, very important elements that came about, and which allowed Trump to get in Biden's head. One first mistake which Biden committed on immigration reform, he said, in my first 100 days, I will issue an order, the Congress, to fix this problem. And Trump piped in right after that, saying that, Joe, what were you doing for 8 years? That was just 4 years ago, you were in the government. Why didn't you do something about it? And that opened up the can of Biden in 47 years. So now people began to sit up and think, oops, he's right. 47 years, 8 years as vice president, you didn't fix Washington, you didn't fix immigration. So why should we believe that you will do it in 100 days now, right? The second impact, there are four clear things in my mind that I think about. The second one was very simple. When he talked about immigration again, you built the cage. And Trump said, no, I didn't build the cage. It was your cage. And that is true. It was Obama and Biden time they built the cage, and actually the living conditions of immigrants in holding is much better today than it was during their time. The other one was a fatal, in my opinion, a very, very terrible mistake made by Biden, driven by the squad agenda, that is the extreme left agenda of Tlaib and AOC and the Ilhan Omar and other of the gang, when they began to say fracking is bad, right?
Yes, exactly.
Biden has flip-flopped on that mercilessly to his own harm. In this debate, he said fracking must go. And ever since then, Trump has been running the ad campaign in Texas, Ohio, that fracking is there or not there. Various flip-flops of Biden. And not only that, AOC making a statement in between, fracking is bad. Now you know who is driving the agenda. And this country is not designed to be a socialist country. And every voter that Trump has gone, every voter I've seen talking about the fact they had a big concern in Pennsylvania now on fracking issue, because fracking was the one which saved Pennsylvania economy. So now if he's going to shut down the oil and energy component of US economy, which employs tens of millions of people, and if you are saying that I'm not going to encourage, I'm not going to give them new benefits, this country has only recently become fully energy sufficient, self-sufficient, no longer importing anything from Middle East. So the question arises, who is Biden batting for? So when his slogan is build better, build back better, it as it is sounds odd, but then better for whom? Better what? And the final thing that I would talk about is the, cage, fossil fuel, 47 years, and immigration, 100 days. So this has become a joke. This is playing out negatively. And to sum up the argument here, Biden is not campaigning. Trump is on the run, right? So that is what is happening. Biden is roping in Barack Obama, his president, who did not even endorse him until last. So the question is, what did Obama know that he did not support or endorse Biden over other candidates when it mattered for him over Sanders or others? Now he's pitching in because he knows he wants to protect his legacy, and he's not making an impact. So while they have framed another phrase for that, is calling Trump a super spreader of corona. Because he holds large gatherings. So it is very interesting. Momentum has gone in favor. I think about an hour ago, I got from an Indian group. So the Indians are very charged up this time. I must tell you that. If I share the WhatsApp narrative, you will be surprised to see how politically energized the high IQ, highly successful Indians here are for Trump. So there was a Market Watch poll said that since April, this is the first time Trump has taken a 1-point lead in Florida over Biden.
Yes,
so
that I saw. I saw that.
People were saying, champagne nikhalo, mithai bato. People may think that we are batting for Trump. But I'm an independent. I'm looking at the number. This is my time to evaluate things before I go in the polling booth. And I'm totally put off by 2-3 considerations of Democratic Party. One, they have gone completely anti-India. हमें तो जो भी बने president, हमें तो उनके हाथ जीना है, right? So we have to live, tolerate, accept, shout, scream, whatever. But my second consideration is, are you good for my country or not? The country of my origin. And on that count, Biden and Democratic Party failed very seriously.
Yes, but as far as China is concerned, or containing China is concerned, Biden is also making good noises that, okay, we have to contain China. Whether he means it or not is a different matter. But as again, of course, whoever becomes the president can't go too much against the establishment. That, of course, is an accepted fact of American politics.
And that is true of any politics. There is a thing called reality. There's a thing called reality. Political rhetoric is one part. Political rhetoric in elections is another thing. But the ground reality, now one of the things that has happened in the last debate was the Hunter Biden exposure. Now, whatever one might say, I mean, if you saw Tony Bobulinski's report on Tucker Carlson's full 1 hour last night for us here, it was explosive. So much so that the Democratic Party is saying that this is a Russian disinformation campaign. And the question comes back, but wasn't Steele dossier Hillary Clinton Russian campaign, misinformation campaign, which led to impeachment of the president? And we spent in America, while the coronavirus is on, the Congress is busy with impeachment of the president for as many months. So think about the amount of energy spent on a wild goose chase. And this one has amazing sensational elements in it. If it is a political vendetta launched by Trump against Biden, he didn't do it. It is all Hunter Biden's own tweets. It's like Tony Bobulinski said yesterday, those are not my tweets. Those are Hunter Biden's tweet to me. That's what the establishment and that's what Justice Department or FBI must focus on. I didn't say anything. I was hired to be the CEO of the company until I began to see, wow, what was happening, right? So Hunter Biden reminds me of Rahul Gandhi, praises China at the behest of his father. I can't help drawing that parallel because I'm both deeply involved in both sides of the politics. I have worked on both sides of the country. And I sit on both sides of the aisle of India and China. I can't help it. And China has been harassing India. And the great agreement signed in 2-2 agreement in Delhi yesterday was a remarkable step taken in that direction. So if any Indian this time, I have said that before, even if you are a Democrat, as the saying goes, for the sake of your country, bond vote for India. That's the way I put it.
Okay, the last time we discussed, we found that the Indian support had declined from 88% in 2016 to 72%, even according to these polls.
And that was in September.
And that was in September. So what's the situation now?
The enthusiasm which I see, nobody can give a finality, but a very strong belief, and I'm not saying hope, mind you, I'm saying there is a very strong belief amongst Indians that I have a feeling that it would reach 50% for Trump. Because the momentum is very strong amongst Indians. And that's what has led to panic in democratic Indian guys. So much so that they were complaining to WhatsApp to monitor the conversation on WhatsApp of Indians who are spreading false rumors about Biden.
Oh my God.
Yeah,
True censorship.
There is a Biden supporter in New Jersey. Apparently, he said something of that kind, that WhatsApp must monitor. But
there goes the First Amendment.
You are all encrypted conversations, so you can't monitor that.
So there goes the First Amendment through the window, through the democratic window.
Yes, you're right.
The free speech of Ilhan Omar is the only free speech that thou shalt have in future.
Right, you're right. It reminds me of a conversation I had soon after 9/11, when I won't name names, nor would I mention the nationality, when somebody said to me, we are going to use every single tool in your democratic playbook to take advantage of you. You give me freedom of speech, we will use it. But I will not grant you freedom of speech in my territories. You give me freedom of religion, I'll build mosques, but I will not give you liberty to make your temples and mosques, temples and churches in my country. That's the way the system is operating, and that's the way Ilhan Omar is taking advantage. And she is a talk of the town, let me put it this way. She's controversial, she's smart, she has been groomed by Attorney General of Minnesota, who is not only black, he's an avowed Muslim, and he has a Christian name. And he's very aggressive. You got to admire, it is always said that you have to look at the playbook of your opponent. If you don't, you have to definitely look at the playbook of the opponent, and they're playing it smart. No doubt about that. Indian American Muslim Council, a newly formed organization that rants against India day in and day out. और हमारा हिंदू अमेरिकन फाउंडेशन है, वो इतने लिबरल हैं कि हम अभी भी वसुधैव कुटुंबकम की बात करते हैं जबकि आपके घर को आग लग रही है. That's the problem with us Hindus.
Of course, the Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam itself is a much misinterpreted concept.
It is.
And it is exactly like that. There's more people, more of your adversaries chanting Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam and telling you, look, you remain pacific, because that is your Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam, like taking advantage of everything that you have in your playbook and not granting you the reverse. So that's exactly what is happening to the Hindus.
Yeah. Very right. Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam, in my analogy, in my understanding, if Mr. Shashi Tharoor's argument is that, his book on Hinduism, he talked about when interviewing with my brother Sanjay, that I have written the Hindu book from my perspective. Everybody has a right to write his own. So in my definition of Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam, it is about universal concerns, universal joys, universal happiness, and universal truth. That is Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam. There is one sun, there is one earth, there is one H2O, there is one air, right? Every parent is happy about their children's success. Every parent wish well for their children. These are universal concerns, and you can write hundreds of them. And it cuts across gender, caste, color, neutral age, country boundaries, religious boundaries. Every parent of every child seeks his welfare, his or her welfare. That's the universal thing. That's the element. Our blood is red, our teeth is white. Some of us have hair like you, some of me don't have hair. But these are all universal matters. That is what is the genuine meaning. Parivar jo hai, wo jo galat translation ho gaya hai. Because family is a very unique concept. Because in this family only, just remember, soon as Dhirubhai Ambani died, the two bright gentlemen, they split despite their high quality education. Sibling rivalry stays as a universal phenomenon. So those are things which are universal in nature. Can't do anything about it.
I don't know whether you've seen my video on Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam, and there are actually factual context. You don't even have to do your own interpretation. They're all given there. The context is that that will be too much of a digression, but let me say that Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam originated in Mahopanishad in a spiritual context. And when people try to interpret it in the temporal context, then Hitopadesh made fun of them. And I made a video. I'll send you a link.
Please do that. Thank you very much.
You can share it with others.
Yeah.
There's a beautiful story in Hitopadesh which says that how Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam cannot be used in the temporal context. Anyway, that is a bit of a digression. Now, coming to the Joe Biden's better half, Kamala Harris.
You have exposed yourself to be sued by calling him the better half. You could have said the other half. Maybe that would have worked.
Okay, let me on expert advice, and feeling very shy of the American law, let me correct myself with apologies to Kamala Harris, the other half. So the other half of Joe Biden, I mean, she's been conspicuous by her gaffes and her big bluster. What's happened?
Well, they say Ram Milaya Jodi, एक Biden की gaffe और Kamala की gaffe में कौन सा superior है, we don't know. So both of them have talked about, she talked about 220 million death on account of coronavirus, and he talked about hundreds of millions of people getting into that. So Kamala Harris is, what do I say? A friend of mine from Texas, she sent a very nice little note. In Texas, nobody gives a damn about Kamala Harris. She can roll her eyes in yoga exercises, and she can have a big laughter, but nobody gives a damn. And so, it is a very important indicator. The truth about Kamala Harris is that she was Attorney General of United States in California. She is a US Senator. The important part is that she is not drawing votes for Biden in areas where it matters. She's not. Californians are treated very differently as a laid back is the definition of Californian. Oh, Californian, you are a laid back guy. Just as New Yorkers are known to be born rude. So no New Yorker is shocked about Trump's rude behavior because that's the way New Yorker is made. I mean, the New Yorker characteristic is world famous. Only few people don't know that. So most of the time, she has not drawn any strength for Biden from battleground states. What Pence did to Trump, that while Trump was on his bad behavior, or whatever you call it, rude, crude behavior, Pence was the calm, composed, Christian Belt, delivered Midwest for him. Kamala is not driving the Midwest bandwagon to Biden. In addition, there is a great consternation about her claims to be the black. The black said, no, you are not black. You are Jamaican Indian. You are not black. So to have latched onto the wagon of the blacks is classic opportunistic politics, and they see through that. And that's the tragedy of this one. The only group of people who are going mushy, my favorite phrase, mushy over her or going sentiment about Kamala Harris are the beguiled desis in this country. Most of them Democrats. Well, actually, most of the Democrats, Indians have switched off with Kamala and gone over to Trump for a variety of reasons, including the fact that Kamala Harris was the person, and I'm not saying this because I'm biased against her. I'm saying this because it's on record in which she openly said, tell the people of Kashmir we are watching. And my answer was, what the hell are you watching? Did you ever see what was happening there prior to your watching? So you are watching the abolition of 370 got integrated into mainstream India, but you are not watching. You did never see or comment on 500,000 Kashmiri Pandits slain, murdered, raped, and beheaded and thrown out of the state. Any thoughts on that, Kamala? And she has no answer. So the question here is, when you get guided or directed to say something because of somebody is directing you to do that, then you know that you have no locus standi of your own. And to that end, I believe other than the faithful Democrats who are right now having a low esteem in the Democratic Party, nobody else is caring two hoots about Kamala Harris, as I know.
So now let's get down to the brass tacks. That is,
Okay.
let's get down to the swing states.
All right.
And the ones that are crucial to the president, because Biden, in any case, seems to be leading big. And I was just watching him, and he just needs just a few states, maybe Florida and North Carolina, and he's through. And it is said that, okay, Trump cannot win without Florida. But Biden, even if he doesn't win Florida, he has other pathways. So Florida seems to be the key as far as I look at it. And if Trump wins Florida, then he stays alive. Otherwise, he's dead. What do you say?
Yes, it is deja vu all over again, 2016. This is exactly the scene that existed then. This is exactly the scene as it exists now. You have to remember one more thing, Sanjay ji, and to all your viewers, that, remember one thing, Trump doesn't have to score 36 runs in the last over to win the match, which would have put the odds, other than Gary Sobers and I think one more, Yuvraj Singh, nobody has done that. So odds were still existing, even if he had to score 36, so 36 runs in last over. He may have to score 18 runs in the last over. And as you and I both know, as having played cricket and having watched cricket as many times, 18 run is a doable thing. It's just a question of one overthrow, right? Which turns into 4 runs, which results in a 5-run play, one ball. Knowing that part that a lot of football matches, the star players misses a penalty at the crucial time. And in the last 2 minutes, goals are scored to win the match. I am putting the sports analogy here. The momentum is in favor of Trump. The second part, which is very, very interesting, is that Biden is off the campaign trail. And in one of the Pennsylvania events, I saw that, where he confused Trump with George. And, we have to defeat George. And Jill was telling in front of him, Trump, and he didn't hear. His campaign people hushed him back into the Jeep to go away. That's the reason why.
He also called some people chumps.
He didn't say chump at that time. If he had said chump, that would have been another story. But we know that he said George.
No, not that. He was also saying that, okay, the Pennsylvanians who don't vote for me are all chumps.
Sorry. I misunderstood that. So yes, he called those you chumps. He has a very unique ability to be funny, but wrong time. मजाक अपना अपना पसंद अपनी अपनी उनकी मजाक बहुत जगह गलत पड़ती है. So people begin to wonder. So that's one thing. To avoid his gaffes, he's playing it safe. And Sanjay ji, without digressing, it takes me back to my days in RBI when I joined there as a probationer in Bangalore office, 3rd floor exchange control department where I worked. And my batchmate Kunni Krishnan, he was actually Kunni Krishnan because he was 5 feet 6 inches tall. And he told me in many flowerful words that you are an idiot to be working hard. Stay safe. Don't make mistakes. Your confidential report will not have any mistakes, no blemish. You will get your promotion automatically.
That's typical bureaucracy.
Yeah, Kunni Krishnan was a Malayali, and he said, how do you think we Malayalis survive? Because we don't make mistakes when we go elsewhere. Very interesting conversation, very granular level of conversation, but that's where it took me to. When Biden stopped campaigning, he thinks he will sail through. Even BBC and Financial Times are saying, it's a grand strategy. As we know, any strategy is only as good as it works. Hillary Clinton, despite her 90% chances of winning, she was campaigning hard in the last stages. She was not sitting in the house. Biden is not campaigning. So they are playing it safe. They are better not campaign than have to endure with his gaffe. and Trump is going ballistic in the same time. That's the reason why I say that it is maybe chasing 18 runs in the last 6 balls. It is doable. And the first time we saw, Market Watch said that another very interesting data, very interesting observation, that whenever 9 out of 10 times in the US elections, if the stock market has been above average, the incumbent has won. And there's a very important reason for that, because nobody likes to see his portfolio go down. And if the incumbent were not to win, why is the reason for that? First of all, nobody wants his portfolio to go down. They know that the success factors that have contributed to the market upswing are as a consequence of certain policy decisions. But if the incumbent loses, this is a very important point. If the incumbent loses in November, the installation happens in January. By the time the cabinet and policies are in place, it is March, April. The market goes through a major upset or uncertainty, and markets don't like uncertainty. That's a very important determinant for this time, because all said and done, the markets are not doing badly. The coronavirus impact is a different thing. It has hit Europe very badly. Now, as we know now, coronavirus is having a second winter run. So that is one factor which one can blame Trump. But on the hindsight, what could have been done, what should have been, what would have been done, everybody can be wise. But we know for sure that every democratic run state, 5 of them, they accounted for 40% of the corona cases and 40% of the deaths. They were all democratic run. So the question here is, how has the response been? Yeah, Trump was caught on an impeachment process for the first as many months, and you can say of the year, and then you can say that yes, he could have done this, he could have done that. Well, ठीक है, वो नहीं हुआ. लेकिन आज की तारीख में the banda has survived. He himself survived. Right?
Don't you think the bipartisan element of American democracy has greatly diminished over the last few years? It never used to be like this, especially in the matters of national concern. There used to be some kind of a bipartisan camaraderie. That seems to be missing, and people blame Trump for that.
Again, if you look at it from a dispassionate way, I have been observer of American politics for a while, since 91 when I came here. The bipartisan, this is what made America great. You talked about establishment and system. It's a 2-party system. Max run one can have is 8 years as president. So alternate करके आते रहते हैं. तो system चलता रहता है. But one thing which I was very, very proud of America was whether Democrat or Republican, they would do nothing to harm the country. They would unite on that. The bipartisanship came there. So you can see the bipartisanship in full play when Newt Gingrich was the Speaker of the House and Bill Clinton, who hated each other, but they brought together a contract with America and brought about the economic revolution that happened during Gingrich and Clinton administration and the House thereafter. That was a great bipartisanship. The element of bipartisanship began to go down, interestingly enough, significantly during Obama term, believe it or not. Because I am independent. I wrote an article which was published in one of the major newspapers in India, that if Barack Obama were to be what he promised in his campaign, he will go down in the history of the world and history of America as the greatest president ever, because he had the charisma, he had overcome barriers, and he had great ideas that we can change. What we didn't know, that he wanted to change America fundamentally from where it was. That emerged later on. And when the people began to see his policies and people began to voice their opinion or adversity to that opinion, the narrative was changed. And that's the sad part, that you are opposing the policy because you are racist, because you are anti-Obama, because he's black. That bothered me. I was not black. I'm not white. I'm not racist. So if I do not agree with your policy prescription, don't I have a right to disagree and offer my own? But I'm branded as, oh, you are a racist. You are a Hindu chauvinist, that you hate them because you are a Brahmin. And that was what bothered me a lot. So the decline in bipartisanship began from Obama's time. Trust me when I say that, because the narrative changed. And when that narrative goes through the slippery slope, then he went on an apology trip, which is known around the world. None of his policies worked. None of his policies worked. His fervent hope for change, he didn't even close down Guantanamo, which he was very wanting to do that. He did not fix immigration. But this is where this whole thing happens. This is a very critical part that you said. Look at the Democratic Party. Romney lost because he was attacked that he was looks down upon women, the famous registry or the binder element that came about, the famous, that he is works for a vulture capital company. He has made money off the back of the fallen companies. Even Biden made a speech in a church, which was very flamboyant in his speech, saying that he will chain you. He told the blacks, he'll chain you back again. They create the fear psychosis. And that's what in the debate, two things emerged very clearly. Biden was talking about challenge, looking into the TV, he said, somebody, your family member will not be there because of coronavirus. Trump is saying, let's fight out. Jo hai so hai. Ladke, we will find a way to win. Biden painted a dark picture. Trump painted a survival picture, a picture of hope. So you are right, the bipartisanship has ended. It got aggravated very seriously during Trump regime, because he was the one who really began to hit at the swamp where both Republicans and Democrats live. That's the nature of politics. And he began to shake the system. That's why you have never Trumpers in the place. So it is definitely very badly hurt, because each party is trying to show I can do worse than that. So when Harry Reid took away the filibuster rule in Senate, that you have to have 60 votes for confirmation of a Supreme Court judge or whatever else, he removed it. Harry Reid removed it. That a minor, even 51 majority is enough to appoint a Supreme Court judge. And that was the time when Republicans told him, beware, it will come back to haunt you. And that's what has led to 3 appointment of Republican nominees for Supreme Court judge.
Exactly. And now it is 6-3. So that's not getting corrected for another 30 years.
Correct.
So that's not getting corrected for another 30 years. So, okay, let's, Florida, you said that Trump is just got his lead back.
Point, yeah. Blood pressure बढ़ गया वहाँ पे meter change हो गया. That's
and
right.
Texas, he's holding on to his lead.
Yes. Texas, he's holding on to lead.
Ohio is touch and go?
No, I don't think Ohio is touch and go. Ohio will be Trump. Michigan is a touch and go. These are all the things, how the next 5 days the momentum turns. And, a perfect way I would put it this way, in all seriousness, it may sound light, but in all seriousness, this is the time when you sit back, relax, have a beer, watch the fun going on, and see how the blood pressure moves on both sides of the aisle. Only two group people, Sanjay ji, who know the real numbers are the insiders of both the campaigns, which they will never tell you the truth.
What about Pennsylvania?
Pennsylvania, post-debate, post-fracking gaffe, post all the scenarios, Pennsylvania is right now, I would put it, momentum-wise, will be going Trump.
Okay, now let's see. Let me ask you a difficult question.
Sure.
Do you see any hard Democrat state slipping into the Republican kitty?
I don't think that will happen. The hard state, the two biggest ones are New York and California.
That's never going to happen.
New Jersey on the other side. New Jersey and New York are pretty bizarre because they have had Republican governors. They have had Republican assembly or Senate from time to time. Long Island, my own Long Island, Nassau County has flipped between Democrats and Republican, and Suffolk County generally stays Republican. So I would put it this way. I have seen some very strong rallies happening in even Beverly Hills, for that matter. California for that matter. Because what has happened is nobody is happy with the violence. Taking of the law, nobody is happy with the defunding of the police. So if you're basically rocking the system, as you said, establishment, if you punish the guilty, but don't malign the whole, that's the important part. So, mistakes happen. I totally am in favor of no wrongful death anywhere, whether it is Munger or whether it is anywhere else. There, no person should get out of the car to kill a girl because she doesn't submit to your love jihad. That is totally wrong, and that has to be taken into account.
Last time you said that Minnesota had a good chance of coming to Republicans.
Yes, that I still hope. I think I'm still looking at it because what has happened is, as you said about polarization, polarization has happened in Minnesota as well. No Indian in Minneapolis is happy for the ugly resolutions passed. There was no Hindu is happy. No Indian is happy about that, other than those Indians who have passed the resolution. But the whites also have gotten behind anti Ilhan Omar thing. That is something very, very important. We would not know until the ballot is cast and counted.
Okay, so that leaves North Carolina and Georgia.
Georgia has been traditionally read for it to flip over for reasons of Trump behavior would be a long count. I don't think that is going to happen because Trump's performances have been humongous. And these next 5 days, Trump must keep reminding people, whether it was foreign policy, bringing Bahrain, United Arab Emirates to bring about the Israeli rapprochement, and Kosovo, and Sudan, and now the next one seems to be Saudi Arabia. If these can be done, no mainstream media talks about that. These are singular achievements, and 4 years. This is the first presidency in last 25 years that the president has not waged a war. And that's a very important factor that bears in the minds of people because they all want to bring the soldiers back. So these are important factors, and Trump must focus on his achievements and Biden's gaffes. No amount of Trump disparaging statements from Obama or Biden will help them.
Okay, so that's pretty much covers up the whole scenario. And I can sum it up and say that, okay, from the last time that we discussed, and that was just before the debate, it does look as if the Trump campaign has progressed a little bit.
Yes.
And it is more promising than it was, though, of course, according to the conventional wisdom, he is still lagging behind. And the chances of Biden winning is something like 80%, they said?
Oh, yes. Yeah.
Okay.
It has not changed. It remains the same. Yeah.
Yeah, and of course, not to forget that Hillary Clinton was 90%.
That's right.
So the Biden is still a little less than Hillary, at least.
That's right.
That's wonderful, viewers. I hope you are enjoying this show and trying to correct yourself or trying to learn from us or whatever. And we do hope that you share, subscribe, like the video, press the bell icon for getting the notification on time. And of course, as always, keeping your support going for this channel with your contributions. So now we move to the question answer session. We do have a few questions. We take them now.
Sure.
Press the bell icon on YouTube and don't miss another update.
Okay. So the first question we have here will be on the screen as usual. Sachin Garg, my uncle's theory. These Democrats fielded Biden because they thought they didn't have a chance before COVID-19 and things changed. Wouldn't Nancy Pelosi be a better candidate?
All right, that's a very good observation, and your uncle is quite right, because Democratic Party did not want a total left Sanders to be the nominee. They knew that if Sanders was there, they would have lost everything, including the House and the Senate. So Biden being propped up was for that reason. Now suddenly, COVID created a different situation, and Biden is not knowing what to do with it, other than say that I'm wearing the mask and sitting in the basement. Nancy Pelosi was also one of those people. There were two people in the House in presidential address last January, when Trump had said that United States will never become a socialist country. Nancy Pelosi and Chuck Schumer were the two oldies who got up and applauded that statement. So Nancy Pelosi is one thing to be the leader of Congress, yet another to be president. So we would never know how good a candidate Nancy Pelosi would have made. But I think, in my opinion, I think she may have been a very smart, savvy Congress leader, a House leader, but not a presidential material.
Okay. Very well put. And let's see the next one. Mayur is asking, why isn't the silent majority, Trump supporters, still not making their presence felt?
If you mean by physical presence, Mayur, you are totally right. The reason is very simple. While the Trump haters will say and do anything they want, they have a tendency to go violent. Even kids wearing a MAGA hat, they have been beaten up. So the Antifa and other groups have resorted to violence. So people putting signage in front of their house for Trump, Biden, the signages have been removed and burnt. So there have been a violent reaction to people who have supported Trump. And don't forget, they were openly subjugated to humiliation. Started with Hillary Clinton when she called Trump supporters deplorables. And if you have watched CNN and other MSNBC and other commentators, they went after Trump supporters very viciously. And I've seen them. Once you have seen them, you will say, okay, when the moment comes, we will speak. And the silent majority will speak at the time when it matters. Vote.
Yeah, perfectly put. In fact, I just add my little bit is that last time also people had hoped that the white women will go majority Democrat. They went majority Republicans. And women especially do not like violence. So that's something that we need
very good point. Thank you very much for bringing that up, because recently Newsweek wrote an article in which Ohio women have said, we don't need to participate in election voting and polls. We will vote when it matters. So when Newsweek, a liberal thing, begins to say, reports this, then you have to begin to think about the data that we are being fed with.
So I think, Mayur, you have your answer. Next one, please. Karan Khatwani. Biden talked about defunding the oil industry. Is it going to affect states like Ohio and Pennsylvania?
Answer in one word, yes.
In fact, yes. In fact, we discussed this a little bit.
That, yes.
Vishisht. Sorry, yeah. Yeah, this is already answered. Vivek Kedia. Trump will sweep just like Modi in 2019. Biden and Kamala say memorize lines looking at camera with hand movement. So phony. Remember her evil laugh.
Vivek, I enjoy your reference to her evil laughter. Nobody likes it.
Nobody likes it. Quite right. Next one, please. Indraneel. Okay. Indraneel is also an election expert. And so he keeps reporting a lot of Indian state elections. Has been silent for a while. Welcome, Indranil, to the show. What does a Biden-Harris presidency mean for US-India military ties? And how will it embolden the liberals of India, like the Gandhis and the NAC types?
As of now, as we have talked about the role of establishment and institutions in any government. So presidents come and go. Presidents come and go, institutions survive, both of them, presidents and prime ministers. So Biden-Harris presidency, as it appears, military is a very big establishment here. So the deals that have been signed and done, I don't think it will be impacted. They will have to be delivered. And, those ties are significant. So, I'm 100% sure that the military leaders and military establishment will not let those deals to happen, because it's the economy, stupid matter gets into play, because thousands and thousands of people are working in those scenarios. But it will embolden Gandhis and NAC types people, for the simple reason that, the Indian Congress Party and Democrats in this part of the world, they have been now controlled by the left liberal Marxists and the Islamist groups. They have penetrated. Unfortunately, that's the truth here too. Because they are
totalitarians, actually. They are totalitarians.
They have become, and the previous question that why the silent majority doesn't come out is because of the fact that these people become violent. They like to hit you. So people are now saying that part of things. Yes, it will embolden. In my opinion, it will hurt India-US relations at a granular level, at the presidential level. Both Biden and Mr. Modi may smile at each other, but they would know that we have to handle that better than their pronouncements in election were. And right now, Biden and Harris' agenda is fine-tuned and written by elements anti-India.
Okay. Though it may very well be like Trump, the entire staff, the election staff that was supporting Trump was out within the first year. So we don't know what happens later on. Manu Kapil. When and how the NRI understands to vote sensibly, not just to vote because of H-1B visas. My known NRI is just saying Trump this or that, not thinking what is good.
Manu, your observation is very correct.
But NRIs don't vote.
NRIs who are only citizens can vote, even green card holders can't vote. So H-1B people do not matter. And one of the things which I told a group of NRIs who are H-1B guys, technology guys, that the internal data for the Trump administration did that analysis, they found that 90% of the green card H-1B holders, soon as they get their citizenship, they enroll as Democrats. So he says, why the hell do I care for that? And we are working very hard. And I alluded to that in the beginning to you in the show, that we have now the Indian Republican Forum, and we are demanding that H-1B should be regularized. It is regularized kariye, 15-20 saal ठहरने की जरूरत नहीं है. If you need these people, regularize them. And that is where the comprehensive immigration reform is required. And Trump is driving it performance-based. And performance-based अगर वो सफल होगा, तो मेरी बात मानिए, the biggest beneficiaries will be Indians. And that's
quite right.
Maturity of Indian H-1B guys has to show up.
Quite right. Vaishnavi, she says, as a proud Texican Republican, this Indian never had googly eyes for Kamala.
Thank you, Vaishnavi, for agreeing with me, which is what I said to you earlier on. Thank you.
Okay, Tarush. Why is Ted Cruz talking about blue wave and Democrats taking control about House and Senate?
I don't think he means it. He's trying to tell the voters that if you don't go and vote and don't vote Republican, then House and Senate taking over House and Senate, Democrats taking House and Senate will be bad for the economy and for the country. That is his message. That is the underlying message to his base, to go out and vote, don't sit at home.
Quite right. The scarecrow tactic.
Right.
Alok Singh, record early voting indicating what?
A record early voting is it is 10 million more than 2016, which is pretty big number. And one of the things is that, you know, the involvement has been humongous. One of the two groups of people, the sportsmen, for example, the American Football, National Football League, National Basketball Association, the NBA games are now over. So to facilitate early voting, what they did was, not NFL, but NBA, what they did was they opened their huge stadiums for voting purposes, so that social physical distances are maintained, and not everybody, earlier if you had a line, you could be standing right behind the neck of the guy. But now that 6 feet distance has to be maintained, so the people began to go early so that they don't have to wait too long. But as the data indicates, information indicates that people have waited for 6 to 7 hours to vote. But what has happened also is that some very prominent sports leaders, and I say hats off to them, they were saying, they're all black sportsmen, they were saying that, guys, if you want to make a change, don't sit on the sidelines and complain. This is your moment, make your vote count. And that message has resonated well. Even LeBron James, one of the best basketball players, and he and Michelle Obama prepared an organization to support people to go out and vote. So, providing food and everything else. So there has been a greater awareness, and people want to bring about cast their votes. As simple as that. So there have been major. So this may be what I said in my article, a humdinger of an election in which may have the highest ever turnout in American elections.
All right. Okay, next one. Varun, what do you think about the latest book, Caste, The Origins of Our Discontents? This book equivocates American racism with caste and contends caste is the original sin. Oprah has sent this book to CEOs and promoting it personally.
I haven't read the book, but I have definitely heard about it. And I feel very sad about it, because this country was all based on performance. You perform, fulfill your American dream, you get rewarded for how you perform. And to introduce the caste element here, I think it is a manipulated thing. It is a vicious thing to introduce and create further division in a country which is traditionally described itself as a melting pot. So caste is a factor introduced. I'm not happy about it. I'll put it this way to you. Varun, I cannot give an honest answer, in the sense that people like to play divisive games. Politics is all about divide and rule. And I think whoever has written the book, and I'm totally disappointed that Oprah is sending it to CEOs. Actually, we Indians must fight this, actually, in my opinion. We should talk about division of labor as a concept of economics, not as a politics and societal divisions. I'm good at what I do. You are good at what you do. So where is the caste here? I said so in many forums, that in my definition of things, today's caste system can be defined as a division of labor, that everybody who is related to the government or related in the government administration from bottom to the top, they are the modern Brahmins. Everybody with the security staff of a building and the armed forces is the modern Kshatriyas. They are willing to give their life to protect the life and property. Everybody, whether you're a pawn shop guy in Vaishali Hotel in Pune, or Dhirubhai Ambani or Mukesh Ambani, you are Vaishya community. And the rest of the people who are offering their services, they are the modern Shudras. This is my understanding of things. So whether you are IT provider, a doctor, physician, accountant, banker, or a hotelier, we are service providers. So we are the modern Shudras. So I'm looking at it from this point of view, to get past the badge of caste, just as the badge of corruption Indians wore for a very long time. And this was talked about, that Indian IT hires are victims of caste even in America. That is a very interesting element to that. Varun, thank you for asking this question. This will need a deeper dive.
Oh, yes, and I think that Californian case got thrown out. So at least, good heavens for that.
Yes.
And of course, as far as India is concerned, caste is now completely political. There is no social element left in it.
That's right.
Garg, do Indian Muslims vote along with Ummat in US?
I wouldn't know that, but I do know one thing for sure, that the movement here is all Muslim votes to go to Biden. So whether it's Ummat or Sharia or just a diktat, I do not know, but message is very clear.
Okay. So that's it. So we come to the end of the question round today. And thank you very much. We finished exactly at the stroke of the hour. Wonderful having you. And so this is it. I think the next we meet will be after the elections are over.
Yes.
It's only about 6 days to that. So we will probably, maybe the third is this.
Third.
Maybe fourth or fifth we meet again.
We'll do that.
Till then. And that time we will summarize whether our predictions and our prognostications were correct or not.
That's the one. And we will also talk about the impact and implications of.
Yes, indeed. So wonderful having you, Vibhuti Ji, as usual. Once again, thank you very much. Jai Hind and Vande Mataram.
Jai Hind and Vande Mataram to you too.
Press the bell icon on YouTube and don't miss another update.